Hello guys, this is Sai Madhav. Today we will deal with SS 600 and 700 series. Now this is the overall audit process as we have discussed earlier. First, auditor will be engaged as per SA 210. He will obtain the knowledge of client's business as per SA 315. He will plan the audit in accordance with SA 300 and he will perform audit procedures in all these standards 315, 330 and he will obtain audit evidence as per SA 500 series and 600 series. Today we will deal with SS 600 series, right? Then he will document all those. This is known as audit documentation. It is dealt with SA 230 series. And finally, he will form conclusions and report. This is the main part. This we will deal in here, SA 700 series. Now we will start with SA 600. The title says using the work of another auditor. See, for example, you are auditing a public limited company. There are many subsidiaries. Now, it is not practicable for the auditor to go and audit each subsidiary or each division, etc. So there will be another auditor for that purpose. So in this standard, the main auditor who is auditing the company is known as principal auditor. He is the auditor of the client. Now he is using the work of other auditor. This auditor is for component. What is component? Branch, division, subsidiary, associate, etc. For example, you are auditing a company, you are auditing CFS, consolidated statements of the company. In that CFS, there may be some subsidiaries, divisions, etc. Those are audited by some other auditor. This standard deals with the work of another auditor. No, this is not applicable to joint auditor and predecessor auditor. Who is joint auditor? We have dealt in SA 299. And predecessor auditor, he is another auditor in the earlier periods. This standard is not applicable to these two. Okay, this is only applicable for other auditor. That means auditor of a component. Now, here, principal auditor. That means you. What is the role of principal auditor? Consider the professional competence. That other auditor, whether he is a chartered accountant or not, whether he is professionally competent to do the work or not, you have to check that. Visit component and examine books. You can visit the component and examine the books if required. Obtain sufficient and appropriate audit evidence that other auditor's work is adequate for his purpose. See, he may have done a lot of work, but it is not always adequate for you. You should consider what is your requirement and what is the work done. You should compare those two and you should use the work, right? Now, consider significant findings and discuss. That other auditor may have also found some significant findings. Okay, you should consult with him and discuss those matters. Perform supplementary tests if required. You can perform additional tests to that audit if required. Send a questionnaire if required. Questionnaire is nothing but a series of questions where you will have yes, no, and not applicable as options. You can send a detailed questionnaire to him and tell him to answer that. So you will have an idea of his work. Now, this is the role of principal auditor. What is the role of other auditor? Adhering to timetable. Of course, there will be time frame given by the principal auditor. He has to adhere to that timetable. Bringing to attention of principal auditor any significant findings. If this auditor finds anything significant, he should bring to the attention of principal auditor. Compliance with relevant statutory requirements. What is the statute requirement he has to follow? He should comply with those. Respond to detailed questionnaire. Now principal auditor will be giving a questionnaire to other auditor. He should respond to that. Okay, this is his role. Now rely upon other auditor. See, the final responsibility is with the principal auditor, right? The reporting responsibility is principal auditors only. He is relying upon the other auditor. It is his own discretion. It is your own judgment. It's own your discretion. Due skill and care should be taken, right? Now, use to be made of his report. First of all, before you know doing anything, you should inform him that his report is being used by him, so that he can report in that manner. If he does not know, it may not be of any use. That's why you should inform him first before using his report. Areas of special consideration. What are the areas of special consideration you have to both discuss, right? Timetable for completion. As we have discussed here, you have to give a timetable. On that timetable only, the auditor should do the audit and give his report to you. Significant reporting requirements. What are the important requirements that are to be reported? You should discuss those before relying upon other auditor. No. If you cannot use the work of other auditor, okay, the other auditor has done the work, but you are not able to use them, whatever the reason may be, and you are also not able to perform sufficient appropriate audit procedures regarding the component. When the other auditor's work is not useful for you, then what should you do? You should perform sufficient additional procedures regarding the component. If you are not even able to do both of these, then qualify or disclaim as per SA 705. Now, this is the overall SA 600. In this, there is some important question regarding working papers of branch auditor. See, we have discussed in SA 230 and SQC 1. Who is the owner of working papers? The auditor is the owner of working papers, right? There is a question that the principal auditor wants to see the working papers of branch auditor. Whether he can do so or not is the question. The answer is no. Working papers are the property of the auditor himself. Okay? He need not share with others. You should link this question with SA 213 SQC1 and write the answer. Now going to next standard. SA 610. Using the work of internal auditor. Now who is the internal auditor and which company are required to have an internal auditor? We will all deal with company audit. Okay. Here you are using the work of internal auditor. Right. See, internal auditor basically means he is appointed by the management to do internal audit function. Right. Now you are the external auditor. In some areas you can use the work of internal auditor also. This standard is divided into two parts. The first is using the work of internal auditor, and the second part is using the internal auditor to provide direct assistance to you. Right. First is using the work of internal auditor. You have to ask three questions: whether to use or not, if said to use, to what extent you should use, and third is when you are using the work, what are the things you have to follow. Right. Here also same things: whether to use or not, to what extent, and when you are using, what are you to be followed. First, whether to use or not, you have to check the objectivity of the internal auditor. You have to check the objectivity, whether he's independent or not, and everything. Level of competence. What is his professional qualification? Whether he's a chartered accountant or not, whether he has any other qualification. You have to check his level of competence. Systematic and disciplined approach. See, you are using the work of internal auditor, right? You have to check whether his work is conducted in a systematic and disciplined approach. And quality control. His work is dependent on quality control. First, you have to check these four things and you have to decide to use or not. Second, if you decide to use, then to what extent you have to use? You have to check the nature, scope, and relevance of the work performed. What is the nature of the work and scope of the work and relevance to your external audit? You have to check these things. No undue use of internal auditor function. You cannot use everything, you know, because the final responsibility is yours. You are just using the work to some extent. You cannot have undue use. External auditor is sufficiently involved. You cannot take all the work, internal audit papers and say this is my report, right? You have to sufficiently involve. You can only use that work to some extent. Now, using the work, finally you have decided to use the work, and for using the work you have to external auditor shall read the reports of internal audit. First you have to report the internal audit reports and you should get understanding of the function. Internal audit work has been planned, performed, supervised, reviewed and documented. You have to see this. If it is planned properly, performed, supervised, reviewed and documented properly. sufficient and appropriate audit evidence obtained by internal auditor. He has also required to obtain sufficient appropriate audit evidence. Conclusions reached are appropriate, right? Now, finally, nature and extent of external audit procedures shall be responsive to the evaluation of. See, internal auditor work you have taken. Now, you have to do some things on that work, right? You have to evaluate the amount of judgment involved. What is the amount of judgment involved? Right? Assess the risk of material misstatement. What is the ROMM involved here? Objectivity of internal auditor and level of competence. These four things, you know, you have to evaluate these four things, and the nature and extent of external audit procedures will be responsive to this evaluation. You cannot simply rely upon internal auditor work, right? You have to check these four, and depending upon these response, you can perform the nature and extent of your procedures. This is for the first part of the standard, using the work of internal auditor. Now, the second part is using the internal auditor to provide direct assistance. That means you are using the internal auditor to have work performed for yourself. You are not using the work performed, you are using himself directly. Now, first, use or not. First, it should not be prohibited by law. You have to check the threats to objectivity, whether he is objective or not, whether he has any threats, whether he is independent or not, you have to check. And level of competence, right? He has to check the level of competence, whether he is competent enough or not. And if you decide to use him directly, then to what extent you have to use? Amount of judgment involved, right? What is judgment involved? Assess the risk of material misstatement. We have discussed the same things here, right? These 4 points. Significant risk of objectivity, level of competence of internal auditor. These four things will give you to what extent you can rely upon the internal auditor to provide direct assistance. Now, when you are using the work, before using, obtain written agreement. Before using the work, internal auditor to provide you, you have to obtain written agreement from two people. One is from management, other is from internal auditor himself. From management, you have to obtain no intervention. That means when you are using the internal auditor, the management should not interfere in the work between you and internal auditor. Now, from internal auditor, you have to obtain confidentiality agreement, because for the external auditor, the relevant standards on auditing, he will be binding by confidentiality. But internal auditor, you have to take an agreement from him that he is maintaining confidentiality. And threats to objectivity. If he face any threats to objectivity in the future, he has to discuss with the external auditor. Now, finally, important points. External auditor shall direct, supervise, and review the work of internal auditor always. Internal auditor also to obtain sufficient appropriate audit evidence. Right? Now, this is the overall view of SA 610. Now we will go to SA 620. Now, the title of this standard is SA 620, using the work of auditor's expert. See, as an auditor, you are a chartered accountant, right? So, you are an expert in the areas of accounting and auditing, but you are not an expert in all the areas. For example, the balance sheet is showing buildings worth 10 crores, but you are not a certified valuer of buildings. You don't know the real estate there, you don't know the proper value. So, then you will hire an expert, for example, certified engineer or certified valuer, who can value those buildings value. He will give you a report, right? Definition: who is an auditor's expert? Individual or an organization possessing expertise in a field other than accounting or auditing. Accounting or auditing, you are the expert. So, expert is someone who is possessing expertise in a field other than accounting or auditing, whose work is used by the auditor to obtain sufficient and appropriate audit evidence. The final objective is to Obtain sufficient appropriate audit evidence and report. For obtaining this, you are using the work of auditor's expert. Expert will be of two types: auditor's expert and management expert. If you remember, we have discussed management expert in SA 500. He is an expert in a field other than accounting or auditing. He is appointed by the management, but here expert is appointed by the auditor himself. This we will deal in SX 620. We are dealing it here. Now, NTE of audit procedures. The expert has performed the work. Now, you are performing NTE, deciding the NTE of audit procedures on those work. You should consider the nature of work. What is the nature of work involved? Risk of material misstatement. What is the chance of ROMM involved in that? What is the significance or importance of the work? Auditor's knowledge and experience with the previous work of expert. That expert, you may have used the work previously also. You have to gather the knowledge and experience with the previous work. Subject to auditor's firm quality control procedures and policies. The auditor is working in a firm, and that firm has quality control procedures and policies. You should check those also, and you should decide the NT of audit procedures. Now, the auditor shall evaluate the competence, capability, and objectivity. First one is competence. Whether he is competent, you should check his qualification, right? Capability, whether he is capable or not, and objectivity, he should be unbiased. He should be independent from the firm, from the company. Now, obtain sufficient understanding of the field of expertise. So you should have some expertise in the field. You should have some understanding at least of the field of expertise to determine the nature, scope, and objectives of the work. Adequacy of the work performed. You should have some idea, right? You cannot blindly rely on everything. So you should have sufficient understanding. Now, evaluating adequacy. Here we have discussed he has to have a sufficient understanding to expertise to adequacy of work performed. But how to evaluate the adequacy? First one, relevance and reasonableness of conclusions or findings. That auditor's expert, he have some work performed. You have to check the relevance and reasonableness of conclusions or findings. Consistency with other audit evidence. See, you have other audit evidence also. The things you have performed. So you should compare these two and you have to check whether these two are consistent or not. Then you have an idea of his work. Relevance and reasonableness of significant judgments. He has also made some judgments. You have to check the relevance and reasonableness of those also. Relevance, competence, and accuracy of source data. See, to perform his work also, he has to have some source data. You have to check the relevance, competence, and accuracy of source data. The source data is good, the final output will also be good. If not adequate, see, you have to check the adequacy, right? After these things, you have found that his work is not adequate for you. Then what should you do? Nature and extent of further work to be done by expert. You have to give him further work to be done or perform further audit procedures. You yourself can perform further audit procedures. What alternatives you have to check there. Agreement with auditor's expert. You have to get in the written agreement in writing nature, scope, and objectives. He should have a clear idea what is his work, right? Nature, scope, and objectives. You have to do this, you have to do this, etc. Respective roles and responsibilities. What is your role and your responsibility? What is my role and my responsibility? You have to get it in writing. NTE of communication and reports. Nature, timing, extent of communication between you both and the reports. You should give a date. On this date, I have this report, right? Need for confidentiality. Auditor's expert is not bound by standards on auditing. You are bound, so you should get a written agreement from him that he would maintain confidentiality and he would not disclose these details to any outsiders or third parties. Now, finally, opinion. You are using the work of auditor's expert, right? And your opinion is unmodified. then you do not refer to that work performed, because the final responsibility is yours. So there is no need to refer. If modified, because of that work performed by expert, you have found some misstatements and you are modifying the report. Then refer to the work performed if relevant to understand the modification. Of course, if it is relevant to understand the modification, then you have to refer that this work is found by so and so expert. Important point: sole responsibility of auditor. Because you have given the work to some expert, it does not mean that there is diminution of responsibility. The final responsibility is on the auditor himself, right? You are just using the work to gather sufficient appropriate audit evidence. This is the SA 620 standard. Now we have completed 600 series. Now we will go to 700 series. 700 series is totally related to opinion and reportings. Okay, this is very important. Why there is a standard for reporting? Just think, if there is no standard, all the auditors will be giving their own type of reports. So for the users, it will be very difficult to compare or to maintain consistency, because there are many companies. There should be a standard format, otherwise it will be a total misunderstanding for everyone. Appropriate balance between consistency and comparability for reporting globally and more relevant to users. It should be consistent. Every year it should be the same. And comparability, you should be able to compare this with previous years or with other companies. For reporting globally, okay, and more relevant to users. It should be more relevant. Now, specific evaluations by auditor. What should the auditor do? It should specifically evaluate these following things. First one, financial statement disclose significant accounting policies selected and applied. Okay, applied consistently with applicable FRF. We already discussed what is applicable FRF to that particular entity. He should check whether significant accounting policies selected and applied with consistently with applicable FRF. Second, accounting estimates are reasonable. Estimate itself says there is no certain amount or certain procedure. So the management estimates something. You have to check if those are reasonable or not. Information presented in financial statement is relevant, reliable, comparable, and understandable. Adequate disclosures are made in financial statements. The accounting policies also, they can change. The management can change them, but there should be adequate disclosures made in financial statements in notes to accounts. Terminology is appropriate. Okay, the terminology should be clear and precise. There should be appropriate terminology as per applicable FRF. So, for example, if the FRF is using the word inventory, here also you should use the word inventory. You cannot use the word stock, right? So these are the specific evaluation to be made by the auditor. Now, opinion. Overall, there are two types of opinion: modified and unmodified. We will see in 705 regarding those. Now, opinion: express unmodified opinion if the auditor concludes that financial statements as a whole are prepared in all material aspects in accordance with applicable FRF. See, the company, the management is following some applicable FRF, right? Now, the auditor should check whether the financial statements prepared by management are matching with the applicable FRF. If these two are same, then the auditor's job is over. He would give a unmodified opinion, concludes that the financial statement as a whole are prepared in all material aspects in accordance with applicable FRF. Right? This is a clean opinion, clean report as per SA 700. Now, as per SA 705, you can modify. Modify means the opposite of unmodified. The financial statements are not in accordance with applicable FRF. See here, what are the wordings you have to use? The auditor concludes that based on audit evidence obtained, the financial statement as a whole are not free from material misstatements. Right? You have to obtain audit evidence that financial statement as a whole are not free from material misstatements. That means there are material misstatements in the financial statements, or is unable to obtain sufficient appropriate audit evidence to conclude that financial statement as a whole are free from material misstatements. See, two things here. One, you have to obtain evidence so that the statements contain material misstatements. Then you can modify, or you are unable to obtain evidence to conclude that financial statements are free from material misstatement. In both of these cases, you would give a modified opinion as per SS 705. Now, basic elements or contents of audit report. The audit report will be consisting of all these elements. You remember this in the order itself, right? First is title. The title, it should be saying like independent auditors report for this company for this year, etc. It should be the title. Addressee. Who is the addressee here? Addressee means here you can take the example of users of financial statements who are shareholders. Right? Addressee. Auditor's opinion. We have discussed the opinions, right? Modified, unmodified. You should give the opinion here. This is the important part. Now, the fourth one is basis for opinion. Why are you giving that opinion? You should write all those matters here. You should give the reference to followed essays. You have followed all the standards on auditing. And what are your responsibilities? As per essay 200, what is your responsibility here? Ethical requirements. Okay, you have maintained the objectivity, independence, and everything. Sufficient appropriate audit evidence obtained. All those things you have to mention here in the basis for opinion paragraph. Next thing is going concern as per essay 570. We have dealt essay 570, right? The auditor should comment on the going concern concept if it is appropriate or not. Now, key audit matters. This we will deal next chapter essay 701. You remember this. Responsibilities for the financial statements, that is management responsibility. What is the management responsibility as per essay 210? Preparation of financial statements. Okay, internal control, going concern assumption, financial statements giving true and fair view. These are all the responsibilities of management we have discussed as per essay 210. You have to mention this here. Then you should write how it is responsibilities. What is your responsibility? Objectives as per essay 200. Reasonable assurance. You know, fraud or error misstatement can happen. It is not your duty to detect every fraud. Your duty is to only report on the financial statements, have an opinion, and what is the materiality you have used, the concept of materiality, everything you have to write in this auditor's responsibility column. Next, other reporting responsibilities. If there is any other reporting responsibility as per any other standards, you have to report here. Signature of the auditor, place of signature, date of auditor's report. Okay, this is the overall SS 700 standard, and these are the contents of audit report. Now, SA 705. Modifications to the opinion in the auditor's report. See, we have discussed in SA 700, there are two types of opinions, unmodified and modified. Unmodified, we have dealt in SA 700, that the financial statements as a whole are prepared accordingly with financial reporting framework applicable on. That is SA 700. Now, SA 705. This is modified opinion. There are three types of opinion, that is qualified, adverse, and disclaimer. These three will be known as modified only. Now, when to give these type of reports, we will see here. Modification. Okay. Financial statements are materially misstated. Okay. You have obtained sufficient appropriate audit evidence that financial statements are materially misstated. Now, material but not pervasive. We will take an example and deal here. Okay. Suppose there is an inventory of 10 lakhs rupees. Okay. You have obtained sufficient appropriate audit evidence that the 10 lakhs rupee inventory is missing. Okay. Now 10 lakhs is material as per SA 320. You have decided that 10 lakhs is material item, but it is not pervasive. Pervasive, you can simply understand a serious effect. See, for a company with 10 crores turnover, 10 lakhs materiality not pervasive. It is of course material, but it is not having any serious effect on the company as a whole. Okay, then you will go for qualified opinion. Okay, in the same way, if it is material and pervasive, pervasive means serious effect. Suppose the companies go down, you know, a fire accident has happened and the godown itself is lost, all the stock is lost, then it is material and pervasive. Pervasive means serious effect. If you have both of these, you have obtained sufficient appropriate audit evidence that financial statements are materially misstated and the misstatement is both material and pervasive, then you will give an adverse opinion. Okay, the second block says that you are unable to obtain sufficient appropriate audit evidence. Okay, you are not able to obtain here. For example, 10 lakhs of inventory is there. In the first block, you have got some evidence, but here you are not able to get any evidence regarding those 10 lakh inventory. Then, but the possible misstatement could be material but not pervasive. You don't have any evidence, but the possible misstatement could be material but not pervasive. Then you will give a qualified opinion. So the opinion will be same in these two cases, even if you are getting evidence or not having any evidence. But here, for example, you say the books of accounts are seized by the income tax authorities or the books of accounts are lost by fire. So in this case, you don't have any evidence and the effect could be both material and pervasive. Then you will go for disclaimer of opinion. Okay, did you understand these four cases? This is the SA 705 standard. Now understand the word pervasive. Pervasive means effect or possible effect on the financial statements. That is serious effect in one word. When is effect? If you have sufficient appropriate audit evidence, you can call effect. If you don't have audit evidence, that is the possible effect on the financial statement as a whole. Okay, in auditor's judgment is not confined to specific elements or account items of financial statements. We have taken the example of inventory. Inventory itself, it is confined to specific elements. Pervasive means it should not be confined. That means it should be affecting the company as a whole. If so confined, represent a substantial proportion of financial statements. Suppose if inventory is having 60% of the financial statements, then it is pervasive also. It depends on case to case. Disclosures fundamentally uses understanding of financial statements. If some disclosures, if not, it is very uh, you know impact. It is showing high impact on the company. So that type of disclosures will also be pervasive. Okay. If you remember the previous standard, we have discussed the basis for opinion paragraph. This is for a clean report as per SA 700. As per SA 705, if you modified the report will be same except these words. If you are giving a qualified opinion, that para name should be instead of basis for opinion, it should be basis for qualified opinion, and you have to write all the reasons for qualification or basis for adverse opinion or basis for disclaimer of opinion. Whatever your opinion is, you have to write that and give the reasons in those paragraphs. This is SA 705. Now SA 701. What is the name of the standard? Communicating key audit matters in the independent auditor's report. Now, what is key audit matters? See, we have discussed SA 260. In that standard, the auditor will be communicating to management, and 265 he will communicate to TCWG. Here, KAM key audit matters means those matters in the auditor's professional judgment were of most significance, selected from matters communicated to TCWG. The auditor will be communicating to TCWG. From those matters, the auditor, based on his professional judgment, he should select some matters that are most significant. Okay, those matters are known as key audit matters. Okay, so why should you pick those? Why should you select these key audit matters? he should select them and he should include in the report. In the audit report, there should be separate heading called key audit matters, and the auditor should give those items. Why are you doing this? What is the purpose? To enhance communicative value and greater transparency, because the user's financial statement should have more transparency. It should be more, open to them, and communicative value, enhance the communicative value, right? Provide additional information to intended users. The user getting additional information, and assist users to understand significant management judgments. Because of seeing the key audit matters, the users can be able to understand significant management judgments. Okay. Now, how to determine the KAM? Because there are many matters you have discussed with TCWG. How to select out of those risk of material misstatement as per SA 315? If risk is very high, those matters you can select. If the matters involve significant judgments and estimates, you can select those. Effect of significant events and transactions. Okay. If by keeping these three in mind, you can select a matter, and that matter will become key audit matters. Okay. For example, there is subsequent event. Okay. You can call it key audit matters. Or there is a pending litigation or a contingent liability of 50 lakhs in the financial statements. We have discussed that with TCWG. Okay. Then you can call it as a key audit matter, because it is significant estimate or judgment. Risk of material misstatement is high. Effect of significant event and transactions. Right? Now, the auditor should disclose in audit report why the matter is considered as KAM. We should discuss why it is considered as KAM by the auditor. How the matter is addressed in audit. What are the steps you have taken to address that matter? You have to disclose here. And this is very important question in this standard, guys. KAM, key audit matter, is not a substitute for disclosures in the financial statement relating to applicable FRF. We have taken the example of contingent liability of 50 lakhs. It should be disclosed in notes to accounts by the management as per applicable FRF. That is different. This is different. Okay. Mentioning key audit matter is not a substitute for disclosing in financial statement as per applicable FRF. It is not a substitute for modified opinion. Okay. If the key audit matter is the reason for modified opinion, okay, then this is not a substitute. Okay, you should mention that in basis for modified opinion paragraph in the audit report. Reporting under SA 570, going concern. Okay, there is separate para for going concern. If you remember that, I have to mention it there. Okay, separate opinion on individual matters. Some matters, if opinion is, you have to require separate opinion, then you should not give here. It is not a substitute for those things. Okay, those are separate and this is separate. Now, generally, key audit matters will be included in the auditor's report. Okay, but in very rare cases, if matters determined as KIM, key audit matter, but not communicated in the auditor's report, but you are not showing in the auditor's report. Why? Law and regulation precludes public disclosures. If there is any law or regulation saying that you should not disclose to public this information, then you cannot do. And second one, auditor determine adverse consequences. The auditor, on his professional judgment, he is determining that if this is shown to public, it can be adverse consequent to the company. This is very rare situation. Okay, in these two cases, the matter, even if it is a key audit matter, need not be communicated in the auditor report. This is the most important question you can expect from this standard. Okay, guys, this is a 701. Now we'll go to 706. Very simple one. EOM and OM. Emphasis of matters paragraph and other matters paragraph. Okay. First one. What is emphasis of matter paragraph? Read the definition very carefully, because every word is important here. Paragraph included in the auditor's report which refers to matter appropriately presented or disclosed in financial statement. In auditor's judgment, fundamental to users' understanding of financial statements. First, it is the paragraph included. That means it is not a part of auditor's report, but you can include that because we have discussed the contents of audit report. In that, you did not see OM and OM, right? Because it is not a original part, but you can include that in the audit report. What you can write in the OM paragraph refers to matter appropriately presented or disclosed in financial statements. You can take the same example. Okay, there is some contingent liability of 50 lakhs. The management has given the appropriate disclosure in the notes to accounts. Okay, but it is fundamental to users' understanding of financial statements. If it's very important, so that the users need to know that, then you can include in OM paragraph. What is OM paragraph? Other matters paragraph. It is also paragraph included in the auditor's report, which refers to a matter other than those presented or disclosed in financial statements. Okay, it is a matter not presented in financial statements. Then you can include in other matters paragraph, which is relevant to users' understanding of the audit, the auditor's responsibilities or the audit report. See, if you see the difference here, it is fundamental to users' understanding of FS financial statements. That is, it is very important. But here, it is relevant to users' understanding of the auditor's responsibilities or the audit report. Okay, here it is of less importance. Do not include UIM para if opinion is modified because of the matter. See, we have discussed there should be a separate para called basis for modified opinion. In that para, you will disclose all the items why the opinion is made. Okay, if you are giving that, you should not include UIM para. Okay, matter has been determined as a key audit matter. This is very important. See, we discussed key audit matters. The auditor will select from the matters communicated to TCWG which are of most significance. If that is SA 701 he discussed as key audit matter, he will not include here. That means key audit matter 701 is the supreme one. If he discloses there, it is okay, leaves it. If it is not disclosed, then you can disclose here. Right? Only one time you can disclose. Here. Do not include OM para if prohibited by law or regulation. If some law or regulation is prohibiting you, then you need not disclose. Or matter has been determined as a key audit matter as per 701. Same thing. Okay. So as a 701 is the supreme one here. First you should check this whether it is a KAM or not. If not KAM, you should check UIM or OM. UIM means it is presented or disclosed in the financial statements already. It is disclosed by management. Other matters means it is not disclosed by the management. Now examples for UIM, subsequent events disclosed by the management or litigations and claims. Okay. For other matters, subsequent events not covered in financial statements. Okay. Or SS 710 and 720. We will discuss these two here, but you remember that SS 710 and 720 will be included in other matters paragraph also. After discussing these two standards, you will get a complete picture. Why should we disclose here? This is SS 706, UOM and OM. Now going to SS 710. Comparative information. Corresponding figures and comparative financial statements. Okay. There is nothing in this channel, guys, but you have to understand two things. What is corresponding figures and what is comparative financial statements? If you understand these two words, this channel is over. First one, corresponding figures. Suppose you are the external auditor of a company. You are auditing the financial year 1920 statements. Okay. Then the previous year statements will be corresponding figures. Okay. See, we have dealt with SA 210 initial audit engagements and SA 510 opening balances. See, if the previous year statements are not audited by you, they are audited by some other auditor. We have discussed in those standards how the opening balance should be verified, how the work of that auditor should be verified and everything. Okay, after following these things, but you are reporting on current year statements. So the previous year statements, you have to follow those procedures as per SA 210 and 510. Now while reporting here, you will include those numbers of previous year also. Why are you including? They are read only. That means, for example, you have given P and L account balance sheet. The first column shows the current year balances, the current year sales, the current year purchases, expenses, everything. To the side of the column, you will also include another column for previous year, stating the amounts of the previous year sales, previous year expenses, previous year fixed assets, so that the users can have a comparison between these two. They can understand if the company has improved or not. Okay, they are only read only for the users. Okay, now this is as per corresponding figures. Now, what is comparative financial statements? For example, you want to list your company on a recognized stock exchange. Okay, then, for example, you have to give 3 years comparative statements to SEBI and recognized stock exchange. That means you cannot give the 3 years audited reports individually to them. They require only one report of 3 years. Okay, then you will get a separate auditor for auditing these 3 years. Okay, for example, 17, 18, 18, 19, 19, 20. These 3 years are already audited by individual auditors separately. Now you will get a separate auditor for auditing these 3 years. Okay, understood? He can give opinion for each period differently. 17, 18 other report, 18, 19 one report, 19, 20 one report. Okay, but these three are collectively required for some specific purposes. Suppose you approach a bank, a public limited company has approached a bank. The bank is asking for previous 5 years comparative financial statements. Then you will get an auditor and you will get the statements of last 5 years audited by him. Okay, that is comparative financial statements. This is corresponding figures. Now we will see what are the differences between these two. Now corresponding figures, it is the integral part of current financial statements. Okay, the numbers of previous are the integral part. You cannot take out them. And opinion only for current financial year. You are giving opinion on current financial year, not for previous years. In the comparative financial statements, all those numbers are included for comparison. Okay, now you are giving opinion for each period. For each period of audit, you are giving opinion here. As I have told earlier, other matters 705, sorry 706. Note in other matters para, if prior period financial statements not audited, if audited by separate auditor, we can see as per 210 and 510. If not audited, then you have to disclose in other matters paragraph. Or if audited by other auditor, if any other auditor has audited them, you can disclose. Communicate to TCWG if auditor finds any misstatements in previous year balances. If you find any misstatements regarding those balances, you have to communicate TCWG. Here, in comparative financial statements, auditor should determine if information agrees with prior period. The prior period information, everything, if it agrees or not, you have to determine. And consistent accounting policies are applied in each period. Suppose you are doing audit for 3 financial years, comparative financial statements, then you should see that the accounting policies are consistent, or if there are any changes, they are properly accounted and disclosed. Okay, obtain written representation from the management for these things. Coming to last part, that is reporting part. In corresponding figures, opinion not referred for corresponding figures. You are giving opinion on this financial year or this previous year. The previous year is done by other auditor or it is not audited, but it is not your responsibility to give that report. Okay, you are giving opinion on this year reports, not for corresponding figures. If previous year opinion modified in matters material and unresolved, you should modify current year. See, previous year is done by other auditor. That auditor has given a modified opinion. That matter is still unresolved this year, and it is still material to your audit also. Then you modify current year report also. And if previous year report is unmodified, okay, and evidence of material misstatement current year, then also you should modify. That means in previous year there is no misstatement, everything is clean, so that auditor has given unmodified opinion. But in this year you have obtained evidence of material misstatements, then you will modify this year report. This is for corresponding figures. For comparative financial statements, reporting opinion for each period. For each period, you will be giving a separate opinion. If opinion is different, suppose, see, example, you are taking giving opinion for 3 years. That 3 years have already audited by separate auditors, individually. That audit has given a unmodified opinion, for example. But you are giving a modified opinion for that year. Then, in other matters paragraph, as per SS 706, you have to give the reasons for difference. Okay. Now, did you understand this? In SS 706, I have told that, see, 710 and 720, you will report in other matters paragraph. Now you have got idea of SS and 710, right? So this is SS 710. Now going to last part of this series, SS 720. Auditor's responsibility in relation to other information in documents containing financial statements. See, the main part here understand you have to understand is other information. What is other information? Now what is the objective of auditor? To give an opinion on the financial statements. But here, this standard is relating to other information. Okay. For example, recently, Reliance has conducted AGM. It is telecasted worldwide on all networks. You are all aware of that, right? Now, in that information, in that AGM, did you see the audited financial statements or the audited report? No. What they have shown you? Some PowerPoint presentations regarding previous year sales to current year sales comparison, new investments, okay, all the stakeholders, previous year net profit to current year net profit growth rate, etc. They have shown some main information, but audited statements or audited report are not shown in the AGM. But all the stakeholders are relying upon that information showed. That is known as other information. If you say that auditor is not responsible for that information, but there is no use of auditor report, right? Because no one is using the auditor report. Everyone is using other information in these days. So in this standard, it is mentioned auditor's responsibility relating to other information. So you should check no material uncertainty between financial statement and other information. For example, in that AGM, if it is shown that there is 10% increase in net profit, the financial statement also should show the same thing. Okay, the auditor is responsible to compare these two other information and financial statements. If it is okay, it's okay. If it is not okay, we will deal in this standard. Now, how to obtain other information? How the auditor will get access to other information? First, discuss with management. You take the example of AGM only. The auditor, before giving audit report itself, he will discuss with management. Now, what are the reports he will be giving in AGM? What is the type of reports? He should get every data from the management and he should verify at that time only. Okay. Annual report. Annual report consists of board's representations, every data given by management to users. Final version of annual report. The final version, the draft version will be there, no? The auditor should get access to that draft report. Okay, before releasing to public. Before date of auditor report, of course. Okay. If not possible, see on the auditor's report, this annual report, this draft is not prepared. Then what to do? You cannot hold the audit report based on this thing. So you give the audit report and you obtain a written representation from management. What you have to obtain? That the draft report, whenever it will be prepared, first it should be sent to auditor. Then it should be disclosed to public. Okay. These things you have to obtain from management regarding other information. Two two parts of the standard. One is prior to issue of audit report. Other information prior to issue of audit report. Before audit report only something is issued. If other information is misstated, then you should disclose to management. Okay, you should discuss with them. If the management rectifies, it is okay, no problem. If management refuses, then you go to TCWG. If TCW also not corrected, then you should withdraw from the audit if legally permitted, and you should report in other matters as per SS 706. You understand the linking between all the standards here. Understood? If it is misstated, the other information is misstated. Suppose in the AGM before the audit report, the management is saying that the sales growth is 10%, but actually as per financial statement it is 5% only. So it is misstated. You should discuss with management. If rectified, okay. If not rectified, go to TCWG. If there also it is not rectified, then withdraw if legally permitted. If not, report in other matters as per SS 706. Okay. This is if other information is misstated. For your general understanding, this is included here. If financial statements are misstated, you should disclose to management. Or if management refuses, go to TCWG. If it is rectified, okay. If refused, modify your opinion as per SS 705. Okay. That means other matters, if misstated also, does not lead to modification of opinion. Okay. You can withdraw, or other matters paragraph, you can include those. No. This is all before the issue of audit report. So you have many choices here. But subsequent to issue of audit report, you have issued audit report. After you have issued, there are some other information. Okay. If other information is misstated, you have issued the report, but now the information is misstated. Now what you have to do? You have to inform to management. If management does not respond, go to TCWG. If it makes changes, perform necessary audit processes on those changes. Okay, if the changes is appropriate or not, you have to perform those. If does not make changes, so management is not willing to make any change, you should notify TCWG and take appropriate legal action. You should get the legal counsel, legal help, what you can do in those situations, and you have to bring it to the attention of the users. Okay, for example, in the AGM, the management is disclosing other information which is not correct, which is not you know in accordance with financial statements. Then you should bring the attention to the users that this is not correct and this is correct. Okay, so this is SA 720, the last part of the standard series. Okay, with this standard we have concluded all the standards. Okay, in the audit process, finally we have completed every block here. First, engagement of auditor 210, then obtaining knowledge of client's business as per C 315. You have to plan the audit as per C 300, perform audit procedures to obtain audit evidence. Okay, 3 series, 5 series, 6 series. Now, after performing procedures, you will get audit documentation as per say 230. Then finally, today we have discussed forming conclusions and reporting as per SA 700 series. So this is the overall audit process, guys. So thank you so much for joining. Please like, share, and subscribe. Thank you.